And the next topic is Tekken 8. There's been a lot of news coming out about Tekken 8. So we got over 12 characters that's been revealed right now for Tekken 8. So Asuka, Jack, Jin, June, Kazuya, King, Lars, Leroy, Xiao Yu, Martial Law, Nina, and Paul Phoenix. They've all been announced for Tekken 8 so far. Tekken has been releasing a lot of stuff, man. We've been thinking that game was very, very far off, but it seems like how they releasing content, man, and giving you betas, and we're seeing all types of footage of people playing the game, demonstrating, and it seems like that game is more fleshed out than we thought. So from all the news that's been coming out, man, how y'all been feeling about it? We gonna open the floor. We trying to do more of like an open discussion and not his turn, they turn, she turn, he turn, the cat turn. We
Right.
still trying to figure it out. But yeah. So how's everybody feeling about that? I guess I can start off. Since I'm already talking. I think it's fantastic. I mean, it's just great because I ain't gonna lie, it feel like we've been playing Tekken 7 since Rosa Parks sat down on the bus. So I'm happy
It's been
to
a long time.
I'm happy, I'm happy that we're able to see a new Tekken come out and stuff like that. The characters are looking amazing. I mean, my goodness, I saw Kazuya's I don't want to say what is it called? I saw his rage art and his stuff is just looking like it's looking beautiful. People are loving Law. Law is looking really good. And I actually talked to Perfect Legend about this, but one thing that I've been seeing with all the footage that's coming out in my mind, I'm like, man, like this game seemed like it might be real polarizing because from the footage that we've got now, when the game come out, the pros and stuff might handle it a whole different way. But from the footage that we're seeing right now, this game looks so offensive heavy. It's just like somebody is in your face at all times. They in your face at all times. And even if I'm not in your face, with these heat systems and stuff they have now, they can close the gap like this. Like it just seems so offensive heavy. I'm like, there's been, you have your times in Tekken where people filling each other out, we're in neutral, everybody's doing, and all that other stuff. It seemed like that's just gonna disappear with this game. So I'm like, it might be polarizing to, people who've been playing Tekken for a while, but hey, what do I know? I'm somebody who's come on this thing and said when I saw Tekken back in the day, I was like, I'm good. So
You, you know, I think that I think right now, I would say it's just due to this. It's a new game. So when people now there are people out there that when they play a game, they want to get into it and try to figure out what's going on as fast as possible, as efficiently as possible, even early on. I think it's just because people is new. They just want to. They just probably trying to. They probably have a limited time to play the game. Because they're probably somewhere where like, hey, you got like I know like the Street Fighter 6 event, one of them was like you play like a first to three or something like that. Then you have to switch out or something like that. So if that's the case, they probably just like, let me just get in what I can get in. Let me just win as fast as possible so I can keep playing. That's what I'm possibly thinking. Um, or like you said, I will agree though. It does look a lot more offensive, man. That heat system, I'm talking about everybody just dashing. It's like it's just focus attack cancels, dash cancels all over the place.
bro, have you
You
seen
hit a
Hakeem be assaulting people? That dude be all over you, bro. Like, bro,
Yeah,
get
and he
off
got
me.
the armor, so it's just it's definitely. I do think I will say we've already talked about this, and I've been noticing this from the footage of this game that me and E talked about this. We was like the game looks like there's like Tekken, but they like sprinkle some seasoning and that seasoning is Soul Calibur on top of it.
Yeah.
Um, like even I say the one that I already saw it a little bit, like with Law, even Nina, but another one that showed it to me was and she didn't even have a weapon. That's just how much it kind of says Soul Calibur in a way. June, she got like these little light pillars now, like energy. There's a lot more energy stuff happening, a lot more particle effects that looks a lot more similar to like Soul Calibur's, like the weapon trails and stuff.
Mm.
And I was like, huh, it's like they're taking that little aspect and putting it into Tekken, even though Tekken is
Mm.
not a weapon game. But just as I noticed in like Street Fighter 6, where there's a lot more like symbols. If you notice, like there's a lot of characters in the game that have like symbols, some type of mechanic that's unique to themselves. And I made a video about this, and like ever since I made that video, everybody, it's almost over half the cast has some type of mechanic that's unique to them. And Tekken, you got now we got Law with actual nunchucks. You know, you remember you could do the character customization, you use items, but now that's part of his move set. Nina got guns. Leroy got his cane back. So it's like I'm thinking there's going to be multiple. Jack got the gun. He got the gun as his super, and he can call it down like an airstrike. So I'm thinking there's going to be other characters that have some type of weapon that they use. It might be a new character. If we take a look back at Tekken 7, Nox was in the game. He should have been in Soul Calibur, but it's like Nox was in the game. It's
right.
Like, you had Negan. So those are two new guest characters that had weapons.
Don't forget that Yoshimitsu's been in the game for like basically forever, and he's been using a sword the whole time.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though, but they never really went too much further than that. Like Kunimitsu was like the only other person really, and I guess you could kind of maybe count Raven with his kunais, but I really don't count it too much. But now it's like they're making more of an emphasis on it because Yoshimitsu was like the premier. Oh, he got a sword in his moveset, but it's like now now we got other characters. So I think that's something. If we keep seeing more trailers, especially like I'm interested to see what the new character's gonna look like. I feel like a new character's gonna have a weapon, like some type of tonfas or something.
Yeah, I guess we can expect like a new character. Like, how would that new character be?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like the like I said, I said this exact same thing like back in our one of our last episodes. Actually, I was like, yeah, the Heat's
in Tekken.
What'd you say?
You gotta have Sword Master in Tekken.
Yeah, exactly.
Every weapon.
Like, cause like when I was like the last time we were talking about like the mechanics, it's like, yo, this looks like Soul Charge. Well, this looks like Soul Charge, and these look like soul attacks that they're doing here. Like this, it's almost ripped right out of Soul Calibur 6. Well, I mean, don't be surprised if like we're 8-way running and stuff pretty soon. I mean, like I kind of like the 8-way run.
Have you noticed either the Heat when they run? Is it just me or does it look very similar to how they run in a Reversal Edge?
You said reversal? Oh, when they're like running towards each other for the clash?
Like the Heat is almost like just the one person version of that. It's like you just get right up close to him, run up to him.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, right? Like you start seeing all the similarities between the two games now, between one and the other. I don't know. I do really like because I mean, like Soul Calibur is like definitely one of my favorite fighting game franchises, and I've always had an issue with like how everybody in Tekken, like if you're just like a normal person trying to learn the game, everybody moves like they're in mud, for the most part. Everybody kind of just shuffles around. In Soul Calibur, if you play Soul Calibur, those of you don't, all the characters move like they do quick feet when they wake up in the morning, like every day. Like everybody like basically trains with like their local football team and then shows up to fight like at the arena like every day. So like everybody in Soul Calibur is super light on their feet. Like they're not flat-footed. I'll put it that way. Nobody in Soul Calibur is flat-footed. Nobody. Not even a character like Astaroth. Even he's pretty light on his feet for a big guy. So I kind of like the idea of the game maybe moving a little bit faster than it has in the past. Like I said, we're like Rexon said before, like the whole thing about like evolution, right? Like the evolution of a video game. Like we're talking about like evolution of like control schemes, and then we're moving on to like the evolution of like a video game and its mechanics, taking the best things from different departments. Like for instance, if anybody's ever played Monster Hunter, if you played Monster Hunter in like the past like 10 years, you might have noticed that they had like the mechanic where you can jump on enemies and grab them and like climb all over them. Well, that wasn't always in Monster Hunter. That came from another game, which got it from another game. Like the game that I originally remember seeing it on, at least like the first time that I can remember off the top of my head, is Shadow of the Colossus. Where you had like the character and would climb on monsters and stuff, and you could stab their weak points and everything. And when Capcom started doing it, they started doing it in Dragon's Dogma. Except in Dragon's Dogma, you could just run up and grab people. You just run up and you just grab them, right? You climb up, and then you just like start stabbing them and stuff like that, and it's all cool. But in in order to increase the what's called like the playability, the cool factor of Monster Hunter. You know, they're kind of like, yeah, let's like just cross pollinate and use this mechanic that we've already, because they've already perfected that in what's called in Dragon's Dogma. They'd already done it, regardless of what your opinion on that game is. They kind of like worked through it, like through Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen. So then they transferred over to Monster Hunter, and it's like ridiculously good. Like everybody loved it. I mean, I use it all the time because I use Insect Glaive, so I use that function all the time because like monsters, like if you're fighting a monster, just quick side note, if you're fighting a monster and you grab onto them, and especially at Monster Hunter World, that monster doesn't even really care about anybody else anymore. All they care about is getting you off their back, and it changes the fight completely. And I think like in this guy, we're kind of like doing the same kind of thing. Like this kind of changes the fights completely in terms of where you're adding like the heat and everything. So I'm looking forward to seeing how well they implemented, how the transition, how Soul Charge and all that transfers over from one game to another. I mean, like we're going to Heat now, but a Rose by any other name is just as sweet. So
can you tell me a character that Law reminds you of right now, E?
Is that a character that Law reminds me of right now?
Yes, from Soul Calibur. He's almost like that.
What you thinking Maxi?
Yes, like when I was like, they just make because Maxi,
I mean,
actually
the command lists aren't that like the way that they move around and stuff isn't that dissimilar.
Maxi was like Soul Calibur's Law, just with nunchuck. He got the flip kick. He had the little dragon punch. He had the dragon's tail. He had a lot of similarities. So now it's almost like,
I agree.
Just put Maxi. And I also thought that maybe because Soul Calibur just doesn't. It seemed like Soul Calibur has just gotten a short end of the stick.
Yeah,
and it's really weird because Soul Calibur is one of the greatest fighting games of all time. 2 is considered like arguably top 3 fighting game of all time, and it's like the game is like still been good throughout over the years. I enjoyed 4. I played 4 like crazy. I even played a lot of 5. 5 is like one of the lesser liked ones in the community, but I liked it. I know single player wise it wasn't the greatest. It didn't have a lot of good content, and then he had a lot of the rehashed characters like Sheba, which was like new characters, but it was basically just like third strike. Like, I know people didn't like that, but I did enjoy the game. What's that?
I call that the pup named Scooby-Doo syndrome. You know what I mean? Like it's like the kid. Basically, we're putting kid versions of like the characters in this game, like the whole pup named Scooby-Doo. They did it with what, like you said, Chiba. They did it with like that one Natsu. I think they had another chick that was like,
Pura.
Yeah, Pura. Pura and what's called Pura and Patroclus are twice offenders, right? Because it's like Pura, it's like Patroclus had like the sword and shield, but then he also transformed into Setsuka later, right?
Yeah. Patroclus, I would say though, Patroclus, Pura seemed outside of because Pura Omega was more so closer to the older version. But Pyrrha was more similar to like Sophia and Cassandra. Patroclus was he had a little flair that was different. Obviously kind of the same archetype. But and I'm thinking maybe what I'm thinking. Maybe there's just like, man, Soul Calibur just hasn't been. One thing, the pandemic kind of slowed some of his halt when it came out. Because I think it was just about to get ready for like a world tour.
World tour. Yep.
And so maybe they just thought like, hey, let's just Tekken is our main game. It is the 3D fighter. Maybe just let's bring some of the essence of Soul Calibur and let it live on in Tekken.
No,
and maybe I mean, that's just what I'm thinking. I'm not saying that maybe they're saying that it's dead, but maybe they're just like, let's just try this. Because I mean, that could definitely be a Soul Calibur 7. I can see that, but
I wouldn't be surprised them making a business decision like that, to be honest with you.
Because like, let's just let them live together in the same game,
bro.
In the same game,
But I mean, bro, like Soul Calibur 2 exists, bro. You just can't get rid of the franchise like that, man. You can't do this.
I know, man. Because franchises have died for less, bro.
It's been too many series, man, that we just had to take out back. Like, oh, Yellow, man, I can't do it. Soul Calibur 2, that's a top 5 fighting game of all time. The Soul Calibur series has a top 5 fighting game of all time.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, come on, man.
Soul
We can't
Calibur
do
1,
this.
2, and 4 is definitely some of my favorites.
Yeah.
We can't do this, bro. They one of the only fighting games that just has such a beautiful story.
Oh
Like
yeah.
one of the fighting games that you literally was just like, I'ma literally go ahead and grind for the story in a fighting game. You only doing that like in what else fighting game? MK. You could say you're doing that in an MK game. What other fighting game are you going into saying like, bro, I'm playing for the story? It ain't too many of them.
Yo, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do my Skip Bayless impression. I agreed with everything you just said there. I mean, everything you just said was completely 100%. To your point about the story, yes, it was incredibly good. Was I always completely enamored with it? No, but like there were some things that they did in Soul Calibur that would have been fumbled badly in other franchises. That whole thing where they soft rebooted the series between 5 and 6. I mean, I feel like they handled that pretty well, I think, because they just said, hey, you know what? This is an alternate, basically like an alternate universe. But there are people in this universe that know what the other universe is like Zasalamel and Cassandra and stuff. Like they know that like there's like it's a parallel kind of thing going on, which I thought was actually pretty cool. Like I think
Bro,
that's pretty
what Soul Calibur was Zasalamel introduced in? Was it 3?
Soul Calibur 3.
Yeah, 3.
Bro, I remember playing I remember seeing Zasalamel and playing like, I used to always go through like Astaroth story and stuff first, real OG characters. Salute to Astaroth. Shout out to E for playing them. But I can remember like
I
hearing
wish
about
everybody shared their
Zasalamel in the
opinion
game,
on it
and
like
you're
that.
kind of like at first you're like, man, I don't know about the new characters. But then hearing like he didn't die, he's trying to figure out how to die. And then he was black. Even back then, like, you just kind of would realize like it ain't a lot of black people in the game, and he black. So so
No, real talk. Like,
Yeah.
no,
what's
that's
up
true.
with him? You know,
Yeah.
and playing his story and then getting to the end of it and realizing he finally got his gift. And if you remember the scene, he actually
Yeah.
dies
Wait
in his
my
library.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
dies like in his chair in his library. Like them just two, you can't kill it. I'm not gonna let it happen.
No,
Like
I agree.
they already took Jack away from me, even though I still believe that's gonna happen. Like you're not taking Soul Calibur. Like, come on, bro. Like that's
Yeah.
no, stop it.
I
We
feel
not
like
finna. Next thing you know, they gonna be like, yeah, we got like the Soul Calibur pack in Tekken 8. I'm gonna cry because that's basically just saying like that game done for. It's over with.
I also feel like I don't know if y'all have noticed, but it looks very DOA-ish.
like
Like
the actual way it looks.
just like its aesthetic, the feel, like just the feel of it, like the HUD, the environment. Like this when they first showed a trailer for it, that stage where you punch him into the wall and it blows up and knocks him off.
Mhm.
That's almost literally
Yeah.
taken from Dead or Alive. I think
Live.
5 started actually. 5 started it where they started doing more combo stuff with it, but I think 4 did stuff like I know for sure. Dead or Alive has always been like even with 2. Like I went back and played 2 or saw some of 2. I'm like, they were knocking people off stages back. That was kind of ahead of
Yeah.
its time. But
Yeah.
Tekken is doing more of the like environmental stuff. Like it usually was just like ground bounce or push
Mhm.
them through the wall or floor break. But now it's like, oh, you punch him into a helicopter, blow up, continue the combo. That's like Dead or Alive right there. So it's like
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
just
sure.
kind of sprinkling in different Dead or Alive, Soul Calibur.
Yeah, I think like right now with like in terms of like Tekken, what they're really trying to do is synthesize like all of what they review as like the best mechanics from other fighting games to get what they would which would I mean right now, like I mean if I was an executive, I'd be like, yeah, like we can just take all the stuff that we know hits all the right notes and put them into Tekken, but and like and like fit them in properly because it's like you can't just like take like a game mechanic, just throw it in there and be like, well, we got this game mechanic from Street Fighter, we took V Trigger and like we just like took it exactly the way it was and put it right into Tekken. All right, have fun, guys. And people hate that, like what I mean. It has to be implemented properly, right? So I mean, if they can take all these like different pieces, Soul Calibur, Dead or Alive, Virtual Fighter, like even like from like 2D, like Street Fighter, Samurai Showdown, whatever you got to do to make the best fighting game you possibly can. But I'd much rather them this be an example of them emulating other fighting games, like emulating a thing from Soul Calibur, as opposed to cannibalizing Soul Calibur. You know what I mean? Basically ripping off the pieces from the dead carcass, as opposed to okay, like we're going to emulate what they did in Soul Calibur without getting rid of Soul Calibur, because I don't want them to just like take the thing and be like, yeah, man, we got the Soul Calibur stuff now. Guess we don't need Soul Calibur anymore. I mean,
Right.
that's just me as a legacy Soul Calibur player. I know we got to move on, but I'd prefer to like hold on to my characters like Astaroth and stuff like that in a newer game. I think Soul Calibur deserves a new chance. I mean, all these other games are getting second chances. Grand
That's what I'm
Blue.
saying, bro. You're not gonna sit here and tell me this is my goodbye to Raphael. This is like the
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
improper goodbye of all time. Like, it'd have been like, okay, cool, we making Soul Calibur 6. This is gonna be the last one. Like, okay, then I'll be able to. You're not gonna sit here and tell me like the dude who championed Soul Calibur all these years, he just dipped. They bring Soul Calibur stuff into Tekken 8, and it's just like, this is how your game just. We not doing that, bro. We're not doing that. And then it's like Devin said, like, we had a world tour set up. Who knows what could have happened with the game? Like, who knows the stuff we could have seen? But then next day, COVID came in and basically everybody. And it's just like, come on, bro. We not like this. Not like that. I mean, I'd be happy to see Voldo go. He trash. But come on, bro. Like, matter of fact, don't even put him in the next game. But I'm telling you, man, like, we not like this, bro. Not like this.